I oftentimes get asked, what is a receiver? So we're going to talk about that today, and we're going to talk about how that might affect your case. A receiver is somebody who is appointed to sell a piece of property by the court. So in a divorce case, oftentimes it could be a house, it could be some land, it could be a rental house, it could be a business or a building owned by the parties that they rent out. Any kind of real property, that is a piece of land with a structure attached or just a piece of land. So when that happens, normally the court will order it to be sold and the parties will agree upon a realtor. So the court order will literally say parties are to attempt to agree upon a realtor and agree upon a sales price. Now this requires cooperation between the two parties who just got divorced. So the two have to work together in finding a realtor. They have to work together in talking with the realtor and working with the realtor and following the realtor's advice as far as selling the property. However, sometimes that's not possible. The two parties can't agree upon a sales price, or maybe they can't agree upon a realtor, or maybe one of the parties is intentionally trying to interfere with the sale of the property. For example, let's say one of the parties is still living in the residence. The husband is still residing in the residence and the house is ordered to be sold. Parties agree upon a realtor and the realtor attempts to sell the house. Every time the realtor tries to sell the house or show the house or list the house, husband continues to interfere. Says, no, this isn't a good time. You can't show the house right now. Or maybe the husband leaves it in a mess. Or maybe the husband leaves dishes out all over the place, making it impossible for the realtor to do their job. When this happens, oftentimes one or maybe sometimes both of the parties will file a motion to request a receiver to be appointed to sell the residence. So a receiver is always a realtor, but a realtor is not always qualified to be a receiver. A lot of receivers that I work with are not only realtors, they're also former family law attorneys. Those are the best receivers because they know the system and they know how to sell your house. Now there's pluses and minuses to having a receiver appointed to sell a piece of property. The plus side is that you don't have to try to work with your ex-spouse any longer. You deal straight with the receiver and the receiver deals straight with you and your former spouse. The bad news is all decision making with regards to the sale of the residence is taken out of your hands. The receiver decides the sales price, negotiates with other realtors who are representing buyers, and ultimately the receiver decides what they're going to accept in the end for selling the house. So you and your former spouse, y'all no longer have any say in it. The receiver also has other extraordinary powers. For example, if, like I mentioned before, one of the parties is still residing, in my example a minute ago, the husband still residing in the residence is not cooperating. A receiver has the ability to file their own motion with the court, ask for that person to be removed from the residence. So in other words, the receiver can literally ask the court to kick everybody out so that the receiver can do his or her job in selling that property. A receiver can be a good thing, or sometimes a receiver can be a bad thing. We use receivers oftentimes. For example, in situations where the house hasn't been ordered to be sold, but has been ordered to be refinanced. In other words, one of the parties is keeping the house and they're required to refinance the house out of the other person's name. Well, when this happens, we usually put in the decree a deadline for that refinancing to happen. We usually add language that says if you don't do it by that deadline, either party may request a receiver. Once again, this is a situation where you were supposed to refinance the house, you didn't do it in the time required by the decree, so one of the parties can request the court to appoint a receiver to sell the house so that the debt gets out of their name. I hope this helps you understand a little bit about receivership. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call at 817-900-3220. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Otherwise, you can find us at familytexas.com.